Clara and Hanks were having a conversation about relationships. Hanks shared his belief that while a man should provide for his wife, he should also allow her the freedom to work. It gives her a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Their moment was interrupted when Clara's phone rang. It was her husband, Jonathan. She hesitated to answer, but Hanks encouraged her to pick up in case it was important. On the call, Jonathan questioned Clara about her whereabouts. She said she was at the market, but he seemed suspicious due to the quiet background. Frustrated by his tone, Clara cut the call. Jonathan was left confused, and Hanks, sensing the tension, asked why she lied. Clara simply said she didn't want to stress her husband. Hanks pointed out that they were in a public place and doing nothing wrong, but Clara didn't want to discuss it. Changing the topic, Clara asked how Hanks had been. He shared that he was back in the country and working on a personal project. When he offered to show her the site, she initially declined but eventually agreed to take a walk with him. They arrived at the construction site, only for Clara to be stunned when she saw Jonathan there, working as a laborer. Shocked, she confronted him, realizing he had been lying to her all along about having a job in an office. Jonathan was speechless. Clara walked away, upset, with Hanks following and trying to console her. He reminded her of her strength and encouraged her to talk to Jonathan. Clara revealed that Jonathan had been distant, irritable, and complaining about everything at home, without ever telling her he had lost his job. She was hurt that he kept it from her. Hanks urged her to go home and try to have an honest conversation, recognizing that Jonathan might be struggling. As Clara left, the tension exploded. Jonathan, overwhelmed and emotional, attacked Hanks, and the two men got into a fight. Jonathan, weighed down by emotional turmoil, sits at a bar with his close friends, Kennedy and Emeka, struggling with the painful discovery that his wife, Clara, lied about going to the market and instead met with her ex, Hanks. The revelation has shaken his trust in her and raised fears of infidelity. Emeka, hot-headed and confrontational, immediately fans the flames, insisting that Clara is cheating and urging Jonathan to kick her out. He downplays Jonathan's own dishonesty, hiding the fact that he lost his job and was working at a construction site instead of a company office, claiming it's not a big deal for a man. Kennedy, the more level-headed and fair-minded of the two, urges Jonathan to see the bigger picture. He acknowledges Clara's deception but reminds Jonathan that he, too, broke her trust by lying. To Kennedy, this is a matter of mutual betrayal, not a one-sided crime. However, Emeka refuses to back down, accusing Clara of infidelity without proof and pushing Jonathan toward immediate, emotional action. As the tension builds, Kennedy tries to talk Jonathan down, encouraging him to have an honest conversation with Clara before making any drastic decisions. He warns against letting pride and assumptions dictate the fate of a marriage. But Jonathan, overwhelmed by hurt and mistrust, chooses to side with Emeka. He declares that he can't stay with a woman he no longer trusts and decides to confront Clara, convinced the marriage is over. Kennedy, disappointed, reminds Jonathan that he offered sound advice, but it fell on deaf ears. Jonathan, bitter and disillusioned, responds by generalizing his mistrust to all women, claiming even the one he lives with can't be trusted. With that, Jonathan determined to confront Clara and end their marriage. The scene ends with a clear contrast between rash emotional reaction and reasoned advice, highlighting the destructive power of pride, mistrust, and poor communication in relationships. Clara confronted Jonathan in the living room, her voice trembling with a mix of fury and betrayal. She demanded answers about his lies, unable to hold back the frustration. Her hands shook as she reminded him, with biting clarity, how she had sold nearly everything she owned. Her grandmother's jewelry, even her car to support his ambitious business idea. And now, to discover it had all been for nothing, that the venture had failed months ago and he had hidden it from her, was a blow she hadn't expected. Jonathan, his head low, guilt etched into his features. He admitted the business had collapsed and that he'd been scammed by a trusted associate. But instead of confiding in her, he claimed he was trying to handle things like a man, to fix the mess on his own without dragging her into it. His voice was heavy with regret, but Clara didn't feel comforted. Instead, she felt angry, furious at being excluded, disrespected, and treated like a spectator in a crisis she had helped fund. "You made me feel useless," she snapped, her eyes blazing. "Like I was just a furniture in your life." Jonathan tried to defend himself, raising his voice in frustration, attempting to silence her with accusations of her being dramatic, of not understanding the pressure he was under. But his words only made things worse. Then Clara dropped the bomb. "I know you've been lying about going to that office. I know you've been working construction for weeks and pretending it's something else. Why the act, Jonathan?" Jonathan's face twisted with defensiveness and panic. Instead of explaining, he fired back with his own accusation, his voice cold and sharp. "And what about you, Clara? You think I don't know you've been seeing your ex?" The accusation hit like a slap. Clara's mouth dropped open in disbelief. "You think this is about Hanks?" she said, her voice rising. "You think that excuses everything you've done?" She refused to let him twist the narrative. "This isn't about me. This is about your lies, your cowardice, your refusal to be honest with the one person who's been in your corner from the start." But Jonathan wouldn't stop. He dodged, deflected, kept turning the spotlight back on her with vague suspicions and half-formed accusations. Clara felt something break inside her. Not her love for him, perhaps, but her trust. Her patience had run dry. "If you won't tell me the truth," she said quietly, her voice now cold, "then don't expect to hear any more of mine." Without another word, she turned and walked away, her footsteps echoing on the stairs. Jonathan sat frozen, stunned and speechless, left alone in the silence he had helped create. True strength in a relationship isn't about hiding your struggles. It's about facing them together. Don't let pride silence your truth. Speak up, show up, and fight for what matters. Keeping secrets doesn't protect love. It poisons it. Real connection comes from honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Be bold. Talk to your partner today.